I'm here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, visiting a friend of mine who participates in those remote control airplane conventions, and I had a little spare time, so I thought I'd drive out a little ways to take a look at the only exposed section of the United States cash flow pipeline. And as you can see, it's quite a structure. The large pipe is for the bills and the smaller ones for the change. And every now and then you can hear some of the, oh, there goes some change right there. Feel pretty lucky we got to hear that. This is very unassuming, no markers or anything. You just have to know about it, and I'm glad I did find out about it. Just shows what you can see and discover in your spare time. I was driving along the famous Ozark Highway here and had a little bit of spare time, so I thought I'd stop by to see what all this sand was about. I thought it was an unusual amount, especially for this part of the country. And turns out that, according to the gentleman that greeted me here, this is the resource, or inventory, I guess you'd say, for the largest hacky sack factory in North America. A hacky sack, in case you aren't familiar with it, which I wasn't, is a sporting item or a toy that is made of two pieces of leather, and it's filled with evidently sand. And it was comes from a foreign country. I don't remember which one, but Mr. Hackey is the man that designed it. He originally intended it to be a doorstop, but just didn't have the weight for that. And his son got a hold of it and started being inventive and came up with a worldwide sporting fad. It's where you, the idea is to keep it in play, is what I was told. You keep it in play with your feet and your knees below your waist, anywhere below your waist, which could be a lot of fun depending on who you're playing with. And with this much sand around, looks like hacky sack's going to be around for quite a while. But it's a fun item, and looks like something that a cat might enjoy as well, depending on its personality. But that just shows you what you can find out when you take a little bit of spare time and explore. I'm here in Galveston, Texas. I'm with a group of people that tour around and do tombstone tracings. I don't do the tracings that much myself, but I like to travel. Sometimes I hold the paper for them, and while they're over there working on the Burgess family, I had some spare time, so I got to looking around and was talking to the caretaker of the church here and found out some interesting information. It's quite a unique facility, not only in its design, but also in its construction. A family about 125 years ago decided to build the church, and they were heirs to a candy factory company and had the innovative idea of building the church out of candy materials. In fact, in particular, it was the circus peanut. And as you can see, the color is still, it's a little faded on the church, but that's of course natural from the sun. But it's a lot of people, in fact, refer to this as the Circus Peanut Cathedral, which has increased the youth attendance a lot, which is one of the many benefits. And of course, it met with a lot of resistance when they presented the idea, but fortunately, they pushed it on through, and there's the proof, standing there still today. And as you can see, the texture of the peanut is it's got a lot of strength to it. So they obviously knew what they were talking about. But they've only had one really accident here. They had a fire years ago, about 30 years ago, but a fast-thinking youth director called a community marshmallow roast. And the outside is solid as any other building. The inside, the floors are a little squishy, soft, but that's easy on the knees. That just shows you the kind of thing you can find out during your spare time if you look. I'm here in the bayou of Louisiana, down here actually for a state cooking recipe exchange contest or convention, but I had some spare time, so I thought I'd come out here to the swamp. Legend has it that in these very swamps, many, many years ago, there was a small troop of Cub Scouts. And two of those Cub Scouts got misplaced, misdirected, and they never made it out. Never seen again. At least not seen the way that people remember seeing them. Because even though they survived, because of their well-training, they didn't survive without creating a strange breed known as Swamp Boy. They say that Swamp Boy resembles a muskrat, only a larger build and shorter toes, with a non-serrated claw on the middle toe. They feed off of fish and lizards and mosquitoes, so they must eat well as table scraps. Of course, there's not a lot of picnic tables around here, but you know how trash can drift. They construct their nest in dried up riverbeds and the hollows of dead trees like this one here. That one feels a little warm, actually. And abandoned refrigerators. And they say every now and then, around sunset, you can hear the eerie, forlorn call of Swamp Boy. I don't know if that was my imagination or not, but I think that's enough of my spare time here in the swamps. I'm here in St. Louis, Missouri. I was here visiting some relatives, had some spare time, so I thought I would investigate a new upcoming sport called department wrestling. I wasn't familiar with it, but I became familiar with it last night here in this very exclusive condominium complex. That was where the match took place. It's a sport that involves predominantly women who are clad in leotards and bikinis, which sounds rather suggestive, but actually it's fairly family-oriented. These women wrestle from room to room in the condominium, and it's very fast-paced and a lot of action. And there is some wagering involved if you'd like. It's not mandatory. I ended up making about $30, which I felt pretty good about. There was, let's say there was Terrible Tanya and all sorts of characters. Eva, the environmentalist, she was sporting, well, you can imagine what she was wearing. And Rugged Rita, she was quite feisty. All in all, it's an experience I'll never forget. And I would go again, and I'd recommend it. I'm sure it's going to be spreading across the country, but this is one of the whistle stops, so to speak, on the tour right now, right here in St. Louis, home of the Big Arch, the Anheuser-Busch, and now apartment wrestling. So that just shows what you can find out in your spare time if you take it.